For a man seriously injured by a logging truck. Win with Flynn. Serious injury, significant results. Visit winwithflynn.com or call 77-WIN-FLYNN.
Kurt and Kelly with Budget Blinds of Douglasville, Villarica.
We are excited to announce our new expanded product lines for your outdoor living space.
Beautiful new solar screen enclosures and awning options with wind and rain sensors for your deck, patio, or pool areas, giving you shade, privacy, and comfort.
Maximize your outdoor areas to keep out bugs, pollen, heat, and cold for a comfortable experience. Great financing terms available.
Call or visit our website today for your free in-home consultation. Budget Blinds of Douglasville, Villarica, the best blind date in the state.
National headlines and the local stories you care about. WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
All right, 8:30-ish. Welcome to the Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. And this morning you can see my handsome young guest sitting across from me on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. His name is Jonathan Dorsey. He's Executive Director at Carrollton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. He's a rock star, and for our purposes today, he's a bit of a historian. When I first started working here about 15 years ago, he was somebody who, told me a lot of stories about Carroll County and Carrollton and got me interested in some things. You and your father as well.
Absolutely.
As well as, Doug Mabry, too. A lot of those stories that I learned came from those three guys. So we brought Jonathan on the program this morning, maybe talk about some stories celebrating 200 years of Carroll County, or interesting stories, talking about 200 years of Carroll County, some interesting characters, people who have called Carrollton or Carroll County home over the last 200 years. Good morning.
Good morning.
I've got a plan for this show. I'm going to let you try to present. Maybe you got an idea to present first of all, and then I'm going to take a turn and say, "Hey, do you know this person?" You can tell stories about it, and if you don't, I'll just tell what little bit I wrote about them.
That sounds like a great plan.
Well, thank you very much. We don't need to talk about Thomas Dorsey because we do that several times during the year. Although he's probably one of the more famous people to come from our community, and we'll get into that in just a second. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your position, Carrollton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau Director, which you've had for at least 15 years since I've been here.
At least 28, actually. But
You can tell us what that entails and maybe some events that are coming up.
Sure.
So what's the story, Charlie?
Sure. Well, first of all, as Convention Visitors Bureau Director, we're part of the city marketing department. So we deal not only with visitors coming to town, but getting the word out to everybody out there and in the city of all the events, all of the facilities, all of the parks, all of the news, about Carrollton. So websites, social events, we run events. Just want to quick shout out that we had a great 4th of July here in.
Now, do you press the button? You press the button to make all that happen, right? Aren't you just press that little button and they all go off in sync?
I'm just sort of there. I oversee the fireworks, okay? but I think Terry makes it sound good, and the fireworks crew, those guys, we've been working with them for decades, and they put on a great show.
It makes it a unique experience.
But and we just had night markets, 2 night markets that we've done out at Lake Carroll, and if you hadn't been to a night market, I highly advise you to go. We have one more in August. For the year, and you got vendors and makers and food trucks and live band out there on the lake, and it's just a really nice event. And we have a concert tomorrow night at the AMP, and that's going to be a foreigner tribute band called Double Vision. Next Friday we've got a concert with Cruising Company and Wayward, a couple of our area rock stars, and a whole series of concerts, movies, trivia. We had trivia at the amp last night, and performances at the Center for the Arts. So just a whole ton of stuff. I would say go on carrolltonga.com and go to the events calendar and get it all right there.
And you're repping the shirt this morning.
Oh, yeah, you better believe it.
Staying with your gig, is there a most popular event or place, in Carroll County where visitors from outside come?
Well, it's hard to say as far as most popular. The biggest thing that is in common for all visitors for Carrollton and Carroll County is food, obviously. And that's where the biggest chunk of visitor business comes from. We do like $170 million a year in visitor spending here in the county. And big chunk of that goes to food, because you may not have to go to this business meeting or that family reunion or that event, but you all got to eat, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest comments we get from people that come for whatever reason is what great restaurants we have. And of course, the breweries and the...
you've got three of those, right?
Three, and if you count a meadery, the Crafty Rabbit,
right,
you got that, and... a few other things, tasting rooms and things like that. For eating and drinking, you're not going to go hungry or thirsty around here. Parks and outdoor recreation are big leisure. We still have a good chunk of business travel in Carrollton and Carroll County as well. So that's a big plus for our community partners. Businesses.
About to have a new, bigger convention center.
Absolutely,
and a fancier restaurant inside there too, right?
Right. There's a lot planned on that corner of Alabama Street and 27, and just one of the quick things I want to say, a little cheerleading, because I grew up here. I was born at Tanner, and everything. So I would talk proud about our community anyway. But it's nice to sort of have that as my job. And I just want to say that what I've seen is that Carrollton and Carroll County working together have always thought ahead, and they have the things that get developed, like that project and like the ball fields at East Carrollton or whatever public project comes up, there is a desire to develop it to suit the local need, but also to expand the capabilities of what we can do, like the ball fields. All the local need for ball out there gets met, but also travel ball rents those facilities out all year long. We get people coming in, they're spending money, eating, drinking, and staying in hotels and all the other businesses. The new conference hall and hotel and mixed-use facility there on the corner will be the same way. The AMP has been the same way, the depot developing that. Carrollton and Carroll County have great instincts about, and this is generational. This goes back years, Let's make our community, suit the need that we have, but also how can we get even more out of that? And that's been something great.
Say if you don't own a restaurant, it might be easy to forget about those sporting events.
Sure.
How many people they bring in from different communities. Because of our facilities are so nice.
Yes.
The track especially, right? Isn't that one of the big ones?
Absolutely. The track meets, the swim meets, the gymnastics meets are big. And recently, another great example of that is the pickleball courts that were developed over there at Lake Carroll. So have you been playing out there?
No, I'm jealous. I haven't got into it yet.
Okay.
But I know it's,
right.
yeah. If I get into it now, it'll be just like I'm just trying to be like everybody else.
But that's just the thing. See, everybody, and the Greenbelt was the same way. These are developed, and the people have been, local people go out there and play pickleball all over the place. But there's also a ton of pickleball tournaments, and that brings people from all over, just like the disc golf course at Hobbs Park.
I've lost many a Frisbee there.
Have you now? Yeah. There you go. Just sailed on into the river there just a little bit.
Yeah, well, we're in the woods. There's so many I can't. I started putting my name on it.
Right.
But still can't find them. There's a special needs park, or all. You know what it's called? It's special needs, but it's going to be out there at Hobbs, right? I didn't know if you knew too much about it, but it was promoted to me as it's going to be another thing that draws people in from all over the place.
I think that it will. I think it will. It's an all ages, all abilities.
That's what
facility, and it looks great. We were out there when we had Bragg come through here recently, and that was their kind of entrance point to town, and so some of us were working that and got a good chance to check out that new playground and facility. Man, it's going to be great, and like whatever needs you have, whatever age you are, everything, there's a good facility for something out there. And that's another thing, the way Hobbs has been developed, it's still out in the woods. It's still a peaceful place, but it has, the ability to draw disc golf, to draw the workout station, the fitness station out there, now the all abilities thing. And it is just a really nice facility, but it was because some thought was put into it.
One last question for the Convention and Visitor Bureau hat, and it is mixed with history too. We'll do this and we'll go to the break. But the log cabin out there by the lake, by Lake Carroll, that used to be your office for a while. But and people still do ask, what is the story with that?
Well, I always have to say, well, it's not Abe Lincoln or anything like that, but that building was built as part of the West Georgia Fair when the fairgrounds were out where the First Tuesday shopping center there is. And as a matter of fact, that cabin was built about the center of where the parking lot for the shopping center is when that was the fairgrounds. And it was a concession stand, and it had little exhibits, frontier home living and all that kind of stuff. And then when they moved the fairgrounds in 76 or 7 out to where the fairgrounds are now, the city took ownership of that cabin, but the developers needed to move it, so they just rolled the cabin down to the little park where it is now, and it's been there since then. So it's been meeting place for Cub Scouts. It's been, of course, Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's now a police precinct outpost, and that's been really cool. It's been a lot of things. One of the things we noticed when we moved in there was that the front door was more narrow than the back door, and we were really confused about that. We were trying to get the ADA compliant ramp and stuff fixed up. And I was like, why in the world is the back door wider than the front door? And we had an electrician that worked for the city back then, a long time ago. And he never said a word ever. And he was working on a light, and he says, that's because it didn't used to be the back door. I was like, what? He said, when they rolled it down, that used to be the front door in the way it was sitting earlier, and they rolled it down there. They didn't turn it or anything, so the back door was the front door, and that's why it was wider. People used to come in that way, but anyway.
So he never spoke again.
And he never said another word. Never said a mumbling word. Yeah.
All right, we got time right now is 8:42. We'll take our first break. Come back and get historian Jonathan Dorsey to talk about some characters and maybe events in Carroll County's history. Again, as all this year, we've been trying to do some programs celebrating 200 years of Carroll County. This might be like the 10th or the 11th show that we were kind of referencing that. So hope you'll come back and listen more. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Welcome back to Community Voice. My name's Colin Worthington. My guest this morning, Jonathan Dorsey. We're talking about 200 years of Carroll County, discussing some characters and maybe some events. John, you can consider him a historian, and that was probably passed down from your father, who had real good knowledge. But let's start off with Adamson. The namesake for Adamson Square, I believe he was right. State rep for a while.
He was a U.S. congressman. Actually. W.C. Adamson from Bowden originally. He in the late 1800s, he was a lawyer, a judge. In fact, a great deal of people around Carrollton historically, you could see, referred to him as Judge Adamson. Even later, when he was congressman, it was Judge Adamson. And he was the 4th District, that's what we used to be, 4th District congressman in the U.S. House of Rep. And he was really active in labor. Labor was a big thing for him, so he did a lot of work, and he served on the labor board and labor committee. And his most famous thing, if you want to call it famous, was the Adamson Act, which initially railroad workers had no real limit on how hard they can be worked and how long they could be worked, and railroads would often work conductors and crew on trains 12, 16, 18 hours.
If you wanted to keep your job, you had to do it.
That's correct. And there were a lot of accidents and a lot of things that were causing a great deal of damage because of wore out folks passing out, falling asleep, etc. And so he developed the Adamson Act, which created an 8-hour work day for railroad workers, 40-hour work week with time and a half overtime. It had not been done before, and initially it only applied to railroad workers, and it was right before Congressman Adamson was moved to the Customs Court, U.S. Customs Court, and then he passed away, and so even though this became the standard for the work day and work week everywhere, at the time he passed away, it was kind of minor, and it only affected one industry. And so if you go to Congressman Adamson's grave over in the city cemetery, he has a flat stone on top of his grave that has all these accomplishments about him, and it doesn't even mention that.
Wow.
But the number one thing that he was responsible for was that 8-hour work day.
And it affects everybody.
And that's right. And so Adamson Square is named for Congressman Adamson.
All right, here's a test for you.
All right.
See if you recognize this name. Joseph Lumpkin Merrill.
Well, I recognize the name, and that's certainly the Merrills.
It might be buried in that same cemetery, too. I don't know.
Oh,
It might be. I'm just saying, I do remember seeing Merrill.
Sure.
Well, here you go. He was an American sheriff of Carroll County at the turn of the 20th century, gained nationwide fame for stopping a lynching. Merrill and his men stopped 3 attempts by lynch mobs to kill Ike Williams, a black man charged with murdering a white boy. One of those shot. Mob leader George Bennett died from his injuries. Now, articles about his bravery appeared in the New York Evening Post, the Atlanta Constitution, Louisville Courier-Journal, Washington Star, Boston Herald. He was also mentioned by Mark Twain in his 1901 essay, The United States of Lyncherdom.
Wow.
Well, that's a pretty big deal, I think.
That is a pretty big deal.
You know, the act itself is amazing, but then to be recognized nationwide.
Absolutely.
All right, let's give you an easy one here. Susan Hayward, her affiliation here with Carrollton.
Well, Susan, as you know, you should know, Academy Award-winning actress. Susan was born in Brooklyn, and she was a New York girl. And in '38, when they were casting Gone with the Wind, she went out to Hollywood to audition for Scarlett O'Hara, like a whole lot of folks did. She did not get that role, but she did get hired to be an actress in a lot of other stuff. Studios signed her up, and so she became an actress. Her name was Edith Mariner, and they told her, we got to do something about that name. So they came up with Susan, and Hayward was sort of a corruption of Rita Hayworth. And so she picked that name.
Up until maybe 5 years ago, I still mixed them up.
Most people do. I mean, I've done it myself. It can flow off the tongue anyway. But Susan, she met one of our local businessmen, Eaton Chalkley, at a party out in California. He was a GM dealer, and he was a lawyer for GM, and they was at a convention, and she met him there, and she fell in love with him, and he owned a great deal of property out north of Carrollton, and they got married, and basically she moved here. And
it's a good decade, right?
It was. I was 57, and then he died in 66, and she moved away after that. But she never remarried, and she asked to be buried next to her husband. They actually, where they lived is across the street from Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Church, which is where they're buried. They gave a great deal of the property and money to build that church, and so they're both buried there. Susan really liked it here because it gave her a chance to be something not quite anonymous, but she was very insistent on being Mrs. F.E. Chalkley, and there were people around. Maybe still a few that remember Susan coming up to the square in the old farm truck, and not necessarily in her glamour or whatever. But she was here from 57 to 66, and when she died in 75, her funeral was conducted at Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and she's buried just to the left of the front door, actually.
I think we're going to have to come back and do another show with all the characters and events I still have lined up on here. But again, great. I mean, I enjoy the detail, and that's why I brought you on here, Jonathan Dorsey. We're going to take our second break here right now. Time right now is 8:51. Come back with about 8.5 minutes, 9 minutes. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health and Oak Mountain Academy.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
All right, 8:51, welcome back to Community Voice. Got about 8.5 minutes left in our program this morning. Colin Worthington, Jonathan, that's my name, Worthington. Colin Worthington. Jonathan Dorsey, our guest. Historian Jonathan Dorsey, just talking about some characters and events of the last 200 years here in Carroll County. We're not going to be able to get all the people that I've got down here on the list, but let me throw this one out to you, and then we'll try and wrap up the show with one that you might think is important or significant at this point. Charles Kindred Vassy. I interviewed his brother on this program when he retired as a judge about 4 years ago. But tell us about Charles Vassy.
Well,
Kindred Vassy, sorry.
Ken Vassy, great singer, great musician. Actually was part of Kenny Rogers' first edition.
And they were a kind of rock and roll band at that point. I mean, started.
Yeah, it was definitely
psychedelic and
just dropped in to see what condition my condition is in and all that. Yeah, and he was definitely a Carrollton fella. He also came back later in life and performed with a couple of area bands. Watusi Rodeo was one, actually. He sang with them for a while.
Weren't you in that band too, Jonathan?
Only unofficially on occasion when I had to sit in and fill in and stuff. But I've been in most bands.
He played with Elvis, and then he was on record with Frank Zappa too.
That's right. Can you imagine that? Can you? That's pretty broad span.
Absolutely.
Kenny Rogers, Elvis, Frank Zappa,
And again, he came from Carrollton, Georgia. He passed away, I think, in the mid-'80s.
He did.
Lung cancer.
Yeah, that's right.
But still, came from Carroll County.
Ken was great.
I do have some. I'm going to let you. We've got about 5 minutes left. I mean, I guess we could mention, how about Keith Jackson? What can you tell us about Keith Jackson? Nothing. Okay.
Yep.
Whoa, Nelly. He was a football announcer, and one of the most famous of all time.
Oh, yeah.
But he now does have an interchange with his name on it. I think that had legislation happened about 2 years ago. And I think most people know this, but how about Newt Gingrich?
Well, Newt was a history professor at West Georgia College then in the 70s, and he was a pretty popular professor, and he ran. Back then we were the 6th congressional district. We had changed from the 4th when Congressman Adamson was there to the 6th, and he ran and got elected congressman from the 6th district, and from here, and then. He was reelected. He was minority whip for a while, and then he was Speaker of the House eventually, although by that time the 6th District had moved over to more toward Cobb County and stuff. But so he had come from here, and I can actually remember several events back when I was young that my dad, who did some minor politics around here and stuff.
Well, he was mayor at Mount Zion.
He was mayor at Mount Zion, big city, and he would have Newt come and speak because he was our congressman, and I can remember seeing him, meeting him, and stuff like that. So yeah, he was from our. He wasn't from here. I think he was an Army brat. They said
He played a significant role in Carroll County. Obviously, at the
absolutely,
University of West Georgia.
For years, upstairs in the courthouse, in the historic part of the courthouse, his office when he was congressman was in the courthouse just outside the big courtroom, and for years, even after he had left, there was still a little sign that said Congressman Ian Gingrich up there. It may still be kicking around.
And his daughter's an author, and she actually did grow up here.
Yes, she did.
I don't know if she went to UWG, but and I think she considered a run for Congress a couple of years back. I don't know if she actually did or not. She may have, and then just didn't win. But yeah, she did grow up in Carrollton, and I've read articles from her about that. Hey, we got 4 minutes. You got any history to tell about Mount Zion, its origins?
Well, it's Mount Zion started with the church out there. So that was established, Dr. Hicks Martin, and then James Mitchell created the seminary, the church school out there, which is still a school there, but it's not a church school anymore. And so all of Mount Zion grew up around Mount Zion Methodist Church and the seminary. There's one building of the seminary left. All the other buildings are gone, but the little bitty white structure right next to the city hall that's under the water tank was Mount Zion Seminary Library. And believe it or not, it's about as big as this room. And that water tank it's still somewhere underneath all of that paint says Mount Zion Seminary on it. And when I was a kid, you could see it like the paint was fading, or it just said Mount Zion, and you could see seminary underneath the paint where they'd painted over it. But it's a great little town, and shout out to my mother who still lives out there. Okay. But it grew up around the church and around the school. And it's always been a strong school out there.
We've got 2 minutes. Now, I think about a decade ago, as far as Adamson Square, you and I guess other marketing people put together a little brochure about walking through Adamson Square. Wasn't there like something had little points? I mean, it was a brochure.
We did have a walking tour brochure. We haven't. We kind of moved most of our stuff to more digital platforms and stuff, but you can still find some of those kicking around. In fact, you can sometimes find them online, digitized. Mm-hmm. But they were cool, pointing out a lot of the buildings down there and everything. But hey, come by, give us a call or whatever. I'll be happy to. As you can tell, I'd be happy to talk about anything.
How about geocache? That was popular for about a second. I mean, it may still be.
I have not seen a whole lot of that lately, but we definitely had several geocaches around town during the heyday of that.
It was a minute.
Yeah. It was a moment in time there.
All right, Jonathan Dorsey, I'm going to have you come back on next month. That's all right. If you can find the time to come here and rap with us and have a cup of coffee and tell us stories.
Sure. But if you're having Doug on next time,
Doug Mabry
he'll just tell you all the stuff that I said was wrong.
That's right. Just kidding. We will have Doug on next, another historian here in our community. He'll be on the program next Friday. So, Jonathan, thanks for coming out, bud.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching and listening to the Community Voice program here this morning on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. Go out and make it a great weekend. I thought I heard Steve Graddick's voice in there, so I tried to allude to him here. So, all right, again, Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health. Time right now is 8:59. Stay tuned for national headlines here on News Talk 1330.